If there is one must-see sight that no visit to Bangkok would be complete without, it's the dazzling, spectacular Grand Palace, undoubtedly the city's most famous landmark. It was built in 1782. Desperate for materials and short on funds, the palace was initially built entirely out of wood. To find more material for these constructions, King Rama first ordered his men to go upstream to the old capital of Ayutthaya, which was destroyed in 1767 during a war between Burma and Siam. They were tasked with the dismantling and removal of as many bricks as they could find, while not removing any from the temples. They began by taking material from the forts and walls of the city. By the end, they had completely leveled the old royal palaces. The bricks were ferried down the Chao Phraya River by barges, where they were eventually incorporated into the walls of Bangkok and the Grand Palace itself. Most of the initial construction of the Grand Palace took place during the reign of King Rama I. After the final completion of the ceremonial halls of the palace, the king held a full traditional coronation ceremony in 1785. During the reign of King Buddha Liotla Nabhalai, also known as Rama II, the total area of the Grand Palace was expanded southwards up to the walls of Wat Pho. Previously, this area was home to offices of various palace officials. This expansion increased the area of the palace from 2.3 million square feet to 2.35 million square feet. New walls, forts, and gates were constructed to accommodate the enlarged compound. Since this expansion, the palace has remained within its walls with new construction and changes being made only on the inside. For the next 150 years, this place was the home of the Thai king, the royal court, and the administrative seat of government. The present monarch, Bhumibol Adulyadej Rama IX, currently resides at Chitralada Royal Villa in the Dusit Palace, but the Grand Palace is still used for official events. Several royal ceremonies and state functions are held within the walls of the palace every year. Rather than being a single structure, the Grand Palace is made up of numerous buildings, halls, pavilions set around open lawns, gardens, and courtyards. Its asymmetry and eclectic styles are due to its organic development, with additions and rebuilding being made by successive reigning kings over 200 years of history. The Grand Palace is divided into four main courts separated by numerous walls and gates: the outer court, the middle court, the inner court, and the temple of the Emerald Buddha. Each of these courts' functions and access are clearly defined by laws and traditions. The outer court is situated on the northwestern part of the Grand Palace. Within are the royal offices and formerly state ministries. To the northeast is the temple of the Emerald Buddha, the royal chapel and home of the Emerald Buddha. The middle court housed the most important state apartments and ceremonial throne halls of the king. The inner court, situated at the most southern end of the complex, was reserved only for females as it housed the king's harem. Within these walls are buildings and structures for diverse purposes and of differing styles, reflecting the changing architecture during the various reigns of the kings. Despite this, most of the buildings within adhere strictly to classical Thai architecture. The establishment of the temple of the Emerald Buddha dates to the very founding of the Grand Palace in Bangkok itself. The temple of the Emerald Buddha is a royal chapel located to the left with many public buildings located to the right. It is incorrectly referred to as a Buddhist temple. It is in fact a chapel. It has all the features of a temple except for living quarters for monks. Built in 1783, the temple was constructed in accordance with ancient tradition, a royal chapel within the grounds of the royal palace at Sukhothai and Wat Phra Sri Sampej at Ayutthaya. The famed Emerald Buddha is kept within the grounds of the temple. The population of the inner court varied over different periods, but by all accounts it was large. Each queen consort had her own household of around 200 to 300 women. Her various ladies in waiting were usually recruited from noble families. Others were minor princesses who would also have a retinue of servants. Each minor wife or consort had a fairly large household. This would increase significantly if she gave birth to the king's child, as she would be elevated to the rank of consort mother. Each royal lady had a separate establishment, the size of which was in proportion to her rank and status in accordance with palace law. Altogether, the population of the inner court numbered nearly 3,000 inhabitants. The inner court occupies the southernmost part of the grand palace complex. This area was reserved exclusively for use by the king and his harem of queens and minor wives. These women were often called forbidden women by the general populace. Other inhabitants of the court were the king's children and a multitude of ladies in waiting and servants. The king's royal consort was drawn from the ranks of the Siamese, royalty and nobility. Usually there were also the daughters of rulers of tributary states. Royal polygamy ended in practice during the reign of King Rama VI, who refused to keep a polygamous household. It was ended officially by King Rama VII in the early 20th century when he outlawed the practice for all and took only one consort, Queen Rampai Barni. By this time, the inhabitants of the court had dwindled to only a few and finally disappeared within a few decades afterwards. Historically, the inner court was a town complete within itself, divided by narrow streets and lawns. Its own shop, government, schools, warehouses, and law courts, all exclusively controlled by women for the royal women. Men on special repair work and doctors were admitted only under the watchful eyes of its female guards. The king's sons were permitted to live inside until they reached puberty. After their tonsure ceremonies, they were sent outside the palace for further education. There are currently no inhabitants within the inner court, and the buildings within are not used for any purpose. Nevertheless, the entire court is closed to the public. This new throne hall was built on a raised platform and is composed of several interconnected buildings forming two internal courtyards. These rooms function as a new banquet hall and is used for important state functions. On the 13th June 2006, the hall welcomed the royal representatives of 25 monarchies worldwide for the celebration of King Rama IX's 60th anniversary on the throne. This included 12 ruling monarchs, 8 royal consorts, and 7 crown princes. Their extremely large photos can be seen at various places, including the international airport. Today, the Grand Palace is still a center of ceremony and of the monarchy and serves as a museum and tourist attraction as well. The palace is one of the most popular tourist attractions in Thailand. Wat Pho, the temple of the reclining Buddha or Wat Phra Chaitupon, is located behind the temple of the Emerald Buddha and a must-do for any first-time visitor in Bangkok. It's one of the largest temple complexes in the city and famed for giant reclining Buddha that measures 150 feet long and is covered in gold leaf. It's an easy 10-minute walk between here and the Grand Palace, and I recommend coming to Wat Pho second because even though the Golden Buddha here is just as popular, many people don't take the time to wander around the rest of the complex, so the experience tends to be far more relaxing. Wat Arun, locally known as Wat Cheng, is situated on the west Han Buri bank of the Chao Phraya River. It is easily one of the most stunning temples in Bangkok, not only because of its riverside location, but also because the design is very different to the other temples you can visit in Bangkok. Wat Arun, or Temple of the Dawn, is partly made up of colorfully decorated spires and stands majestically over the water. Wat Arun is almost directly opposite Wat Pho, so it is very easy to get to. From Safan Taksin boat pier, you can take a river boat that stops at Pier 8. From here, a small shuttle boat takes you from one side of the river to the other for only a few baht. The Chiao Mai Damnoen Shrine, also known as Phallic Shrine, is a Phallic Shrine in Bangkok, located behind the Swissotel Mecca Hotel. It honors Chiao Mai Thaptim, a female fertility spirit. The shrine was created in the first quarter of the 20th century by a Thai businessman, Nailard, who found a spirit house floating in the Klong and placed it on the bank of his property. In Thailand, the phallus is considered to be a symbol of good luck and also a representative of fertility. The shrine is one of the best examples of intentional phallic architecture in the world. The site, which measured roughly 18 meter by 21 meter, is now crammed with carved wooden circumcised penis statues, which are said to possess special cosmic powers and endow good fortune and fertility on anybody coming into contact with them. Literally hundreds of penises or phalluses, from small wood carvings to big stone sculptures that stand 10 feet tall and decorated with ribbons, make this shrine quite unique. Some are humorous and painted pink to closely resemble a human phallus. Women hoping to get pregnant leave offerings at the spirit house, flanking a 10-foot Penis statue draped in cloth, including candles, jasmine, lotus flowers, and Chinese incense sticks. If rumors can be believed, the shrine had a good success rate. Women will return if their wish is fulfilled and place yet another phallus at the shrine in thanks. Confronted by this extraordinary and hidden away display makes many first-time visitors or tourists blush, considering that Thai people have such a gentle and polite nature. But sexual imagery, as a matter of fact, is not uncommon in Thailand. Much of modern Buddhism has its roots in India's ancient Hinduism, and many spiritual rituals and symbols are shared by both religions. These particular phalluses or lingams, as called in Hindi, have their origin from the fabled Hindu god Shiva and are sold at many markets as good luck amulets or for protection. They are also believed to have some mystical influence over the cash flow of businesses. So don't be surprised if you spot one lying discreetly next to a cash register or even dangling from the rear view mirror of a taxi. Thai people are very humble, and that's why this land is called the land of smile. However, the caretaker saw a smirk on my face in making video. Without being rude, he nicely asked me to leave this place. I obliged humbly as well. For hundreds of years, Thai people have been using their boats to travel on waterways throughout the country on meandering canals and rivers long before modern roads existed. People carried things like seasonal crop, rice, livestock, timber, and much more by their boats in small to bigger sizes. These floating markets are still piled high tropical fruit and vegetable, fresh, ready to drink, coconut juice, and local food cooked from floating kitchens located right on the boat. There are countless floating markets throughout the country, many within a couple of hours of the capital. The colorfully clad merchants at these lively markets paddle along congested canals in sturdy canoes laden with fresh fruit and vegetables to sell to shoppers on the banks. There is lots of chatter and activity. Bargaining is common. That's all part of the fun. But don't expect to get the price down more than a few baht. The most famous of the floating market near Bangkok is Damnoen Saduak. Historically, Damnoen Saduak was actually the name of the canal dug in the reign of King Rama IV by the military men and the people of Rajpuri, Samusakon and Samusongkram provinces directed by the Minister of Defense. In those days, without rivers and canals, transportation was almost motionless. King Rama IV, with his great concern over the country's future economic growth, finally had the canal dug to connect the Hachin River in Samusakon province and Maklong River in Samusongkram province together. It was finished and opened to the public in 1868. Damnoen Saduak is one of the provincial districts of Rajpuri province. Most people live densely along both sides of the canal from one end of the canal to another. The majority of these people are agriculturists. They grow several different kinds of fruits and vegetables. For example, oranges, grapes, papayas, cabbages, beans, onions, etc. The land in this area is naturally fertile. Apart from providing transportation, Damnoen Saduak Canal also provides farmers with adequate water for agricultural purposes for the whole year round. More than 200 small canals were dug by local peasants to connect with it to get water to splatter their land. Moreover, these small canals also became prosperous ways of taking their agricultural products to the market in neighboring provinces and to Bangkok. Day in and day out, from about 8 in the morning to about 11 in the morning, the floating market is routinely crowded with hundreds of vendors and purchasers floating in their small rowing boats, selling and buying or exchanging their goods. What they purchase are particularly food, fruit, and vegetables, which mostly brought from their own orchards. They usually travel on their small rowing boats. However, today the long-tailed boat pushing by engine have become very popular. People tend to use them instead. Damnoen Saduak in Ratchaburi, about 70 miles south of Bangkok, or approximately 2-hour drive. This vibrant market features many small boats laden with colorful fruits and vegetables and paddled by Thai women wearing bamboo hats. An early morning start is worth it to avoid the heat and catch Damnoen Saduak at its liveliest. Most visitors who come to Thailand want to visit a floating market, and many of them will end up here. Don't let that put you off though. It's an enjoyable morning out of the city, and if you avoid the tourist shops, you can get a real sense of the place. The easiest way to get there is to join a tour. The roar of the engine disturbs the quiet as the boat glides down the narrow canal. Small wooden houses on stilts fringe the bank, some with larger ponds than lawns. The boat driver slows down to let you appreciate the winding waterways and get a brief glimpse of those who live on the river. The market itself is great, everything you would expect it to be. Old ladies with a basket on the end of a long wooden stick would take your money and pass you your purchases. The journey takes around 20 minutes and is great to enjoy the peace before the hectic pace of the market. It may feel overcrowded at first glance, but visitors and sellers bring noise and color to the area. Stepping off the boat, I found myself along the busy stalls selling similar products to those you can find at Chatuchak weekend market, small toy elephant, tiger bomb, and the compulsory "I was here" t-shirts. It's not surprising to find this at the most famous floating market in Thailand, and it can feel a little commercialized, but as I walked further, I found the food sellers who not only look more photogenic but also have some far-tasting goods. Unlike most of the other floating markets, the popularity of Damnoen Saduak attracts many fruit sellers rowing their boat along the narrow canals, meaning that you are guaranteed great pictures. There is plenty of tasty food to try along the docks, from freshly made mini coconut pancake to boat noodles in their rich broth. By taking these boats along the waterways, I got a chance to catch a glimpse of the old Thai way of life. Definitely, it was one of the best ways to experience the local culture and history, and of course, the most fun way to spend a day in Thailand. My next stop on our guided tour was to a countryside coconut sugar plant where our guide handed us coconut sugar water samples. In general, it was a typical group tour pit shop with lots of souvenirs and silly photo ops, but it was a good excuse to get out and stretch my legs. Buddhism is Thai's primary religion with more than 90% of the population being Buddhist. Our next stop was at a city temple near the market. This famous shrine attracts more visitors because it's located inside the floating market in Damnoen, Saduak. Here, people were praying, putting gold leaves on the Buddha statues, or just admiring the aesthetics. This temple is characterized by tall golden stupas. The men in orange robes common throughout Thailand are Buddhist monks. Nearly every Buddhist man over the age of 20 takes a turn at being a monk for a varying length of time. My tour guide told me that the shortest term as a monk is 11 days, while others may take longer terms. The king of Thailand took 1 month for his monkhood, and during that time his wife ruled as queen in his state. The tour's next stop was the elephant camp. I enjoyed riding the elephant. Like others, my elephant was also controlled by a Mahout master. The ride took me around a beautiful manicured garden and pond, with my driver stopping to occasionally pull a branch down for the elephant to pull down and have a snack on while walking around. The elephant followed a path through the jungle and the canal. I had mixed feelings about this place. On one hand, they did have a lot of elephants here and a lot of elephant calves, which means they must be breeding and some preservation work going on, and a lot of elephant calves, which means they must be breeding and some preservation work going on. It just didn't seem like the ideal way for the elephants to be displayed. However, at the end of the day, if some of the money spent was going back to the welfare of the elephants and other animals, and of course to the people who were actually looking after the welfare of the animals, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. After the elephant ride, we were instructed to go to the crocodile exhibition. I've actually seen a preview of this show, so I already knew what to expect. Nevertheless, their unusual stunts were a hit to many. They asked me to sit on top of a crocodile and pet him. I obliged and somehow was not fearful. However, I refused to do other things that they asked. I know they are skilled to do these things, and it probably took years of practice, but they could not make me put my head nor hand inside the crocodile's open mouth. Thanks, but no thanks. Crocodile cannot really be tamed and basically remain wild, dangerous animals that can eat people. This show was thrilling, nerve-wracking, and exciting. Watch the handler catch and hold a crocodile longer than he is. The head in the mouth trick is really worrying, as you just don't know if today is going to be the trainer's last performance. Accidents do happen, and at times the performer's hand or head does get stuck in the crocodile's mouth. An existing display of bravado, not suitable for people of a nervous disposition. Nonetheless, the show was nice. It was a very hot, humid, and long day. I was very tired, and it was time to go back to Bangkok. If you happen to be in Bangkok, a nighttime river cruise is a must. I've been to these cruises before, but this time decided to take one again. There are several cruises available and one can select on the basis of his taste. These cruises usually run for 2 or more hours. They start their trip from the River City shopping complex and end there as well. During the cruise, one can enjoy the beautiful night-lit scenery on both sides of the Chao Phraya River. Their dinner includes a wide selection of dishes ranging from Thai style to international foods, appetizers, main dishes, desserts served in a buffet fashion. While enjoying the dinner, their singers will sing all kinds of songs. Then they will have ladyboy show who will sing traditional Thai and Western songs. For a tourist, it's very hard to tell that they are not ladies but in fact transsexuals and are dressed as women. Enjoy.
Deine Zauber binden wieder durch des Himmels prächtigen Plan laufen